This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Megan from Talk Together. She's a speech and language therapist, and we're really interested in chatting all about friendships. How do we support our kids to develop, grow, nurture their friendships now and for the rest of their lives? Thanks for joining us for Being Real Parents with me, Anna, and my colleague and buddy,
Kate. We work in the parenting space.
And it's here where we'll talk about our worlds as parents, the good, the not so good, and the hilarious, and mix this with what we know about behaviour and psychology. Thank you so much for joining me again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Great to be back.
Yeah, it was lovely talking to you last time. And this time we're going to move further into talking all about friendships. But do you want to re-intro you?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Megan. I'm a speech language therapist. I've been a therapist for about 13 years now. And I started Talk Together speech language therapy about 7 years ago. And now we have an awesome team that I'm just so proud of and privileged to work with. And we do lots of work across the social communication space, as well as supporting kids with all types of communication challenges or kids that need support in different ways. And we also do a lot of neurodiversity affirming support with our neurodiverse tamariki as well.
Beautiful. Nice, cool. And so you're based in Christchurch, but you do work online as well, don't you?
Yeah. So we support kids throughout New Zealand, either in person in Christchurch and North Canterbury and Selwyn as well, quite a bit, and then online everywhere else.
Cool. And how do people get hold of you if they're just going, oh, that's what I need?
Our website is probably the best bet. Yeah, it's just www.talktogether.co.nz.
Wicked. Cool. That's really great to get that out of the way, because I know that often people want to Google who that what's going on and what you do. So, and then today we're going to talk specifically about friendships. Why did we choose this topic? I can answer that, but I want you to.
Yeah. Well, I think you suggested the topic, but I think it's such an important topic, isn't it?
Biggie,
it's one that we care about so much. Yeah. And I'm feeling it so deeply at the moment on a personal level. My eldest just started school last week. And it was a really good time to reflect of just how invested we are as parents, whether don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we're definitely all in emotionally when it comes to our kids and their friendships and the connections that they make in the world.
Yeah.
And it's a really important topic.
And they're kind of beautiful at it, aren't they? And then something creeps in around, I don't know, just if I ever hear from my, from my own children, or they said that they weren't my friend, or I wasn't invited to their birthday party, it kind of hits your heart somewhere.
It does. Yeah, it does. And I think there's sort of two parts to that as parents, that we know the value of friendships because we've maybe experienced that ourselves, or we have special friends in our life, and we know how protective it is and how helpful that is for our children and their growth and their sense of belonging and their confidence in the world. And then there's also that other side to it that we've all felt, probably times of loneliness or times where we were in a situation and we found it hard to connect, or we felt we didn't have the confidence to create that connection and that sort of thing. Yeah. And then we feel that and probably want to avoid that feeling to some extent for our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and numerous studies now, there's some beautiful TED Talks on friendships and how they support us with our happiness throughout our lives as well.
Totally.
So it's almost like that we know that innately.
Yeah. And all the research suggests actually one of the best protective factors against bullying, if someone's experiencing bullying, is positive friendships.
Yeah.
So not necessarily even in that space. Like if, say, they're having a really hard time at school, if they've got a protective friendship outside of school or through an after-school activity, all the research is just saying how supportive that is to get through that tough time.
Yeah. That's the kind of like the importance of having a variety of friendships and not just picking, not just supporting, because we do this as parents sometimes as well, supporting just one good friend. Like we all want our kids to have that bestie, but actually a little tribe.
Totally.
A wee village.
Totally. Yeah, that's literally what we say at Talk Together. We call it finding your tribe.
Oh, no. Oh, I didn't know that.
And find it, yeah. So kids just finding those kids that they gel with and that they're like, they're like me, or they're thinking about that the same way I do, or just finding that sense of connection, because we don't connect with everyone, but it's exposing our kids to those situations where they can find people that they connect with.
Yeah. Yeah, it is terribly validating when you find people of like mind, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
As adults, they go, oh, yay, they're like me. Yes. This will be easy. Yeah.
You're listening to Being Real Parents with Kate and Anna on Plains FM 96.9.
So what are the best things that we can do as parents to just kind of support friendships and not be weird in it? Because I know that I'm a bit weird in it sometimes.
And not act like we care too much.
That's right.
Or put too much pressure on.
That's right.
Yeah,
kind
totally.
of investigate how friendships are going at school and what's the background of that child that said that you're not coming to the birthday party and
Yes, totally. Or you're not my friend, or I'm not playing with you, or all those sort of things. So what can we do to support? I think the number one thing is teaching kids to see other people's perspectives, because that underpins so much of our communication with others and having those positive relationships with others. Yeah. And we know that kids that can see things from other people's perspectives tend to have more friends and deeper friendships. Yeah. So how do we actually do that in reality? We just talk about it with our kids. So pointing out with little kids, we want to point out people's differences in a positive way. So, look, you really wanted the blue ice cream and Millie chose the pink. That's really cool. You guys both like different things. So as simple as that. Yeah. Right up to, look, we're about to go down the hydroside. Oh, look, we're in the same situation. I can tell you're really stoked about going down the hydroside, but Johnny looks terrified. Oh, what can we do to help Johnny? Because he's looking really scared right now. So you're pointing out, even though we're in the same situation, we're actually feeling different things. And then it's just bringing in those differences and perspective taking. And we know that perspective taking is a really big thing for our neurodiverse kids, and we want to support them in seeing other people's perspectives and recognising that actually everyone's perspectives is valid, including theirs. So it goes both ways. So that'd be my number one thing that we can do.
That's interesting.
Always perspective taking.
Yeah, quite. Yeah. It's a really good point. It's and I was just thinking about how often we go into situations and we recognise that difference as parents or even as teachers, but we don't really want to point it out or something. So we just force our own child into accepting that they need to give up their own thoughts and feelings and do what their friend wants. For
sure, yeah. And there's that middle ground of that negotiating and that problem solving and that social conflict resolution that we can actually only get to that point in a friendship when the child initially recognises that there's a difference going on. Yeah. Like, you want to play soccer, I want to play cricket. Doesn't mean you're not my friend just because you want to go play cricket. Yeah. It just means we want different things right now. And then it gives the power back to the kid to choose. Well, I can choose. I can go play cricket or I can stick to my guns and go play soccer. And one, I'm going to go with my friend, the other one I'm not. And both's okay, but that's my choice.
I like, though, that what you're saying is that when you engage in kōrero around that with our kids, like, pointing out, oh, look, they like, pink ice cream, you like blue. Hopefully they don't like blue ice cream. But anyway...
I was thinking that. Bubblegum,
blueberry,
maybe, I don't
know. But it's kind of like just doing that is engaging them in that thinking, in that talking, and I'm always interested to see how many times we just say something like we avoid this stuff, don't we, as the adult in the room, like, you just need to do what he wants, or you need to just go and do what you want, solving the problem for them. Kind of invalidating it, making it kind of less of a big of a deal. And, just thinking about how that doesn't actually support any kind of perspective-taking, empathy, and actually having to kind of have hard conversations. These aren't hard conversations, but that can be uncomfortable or difficult,
Totally. Yeah. And I think that's a really good point about empathy, that we grow empathy from seeing things from other people's points of view, as well as experiencing things ourselves, but also being able to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. We can then empathise with them, even if that experience isn't happening for us right now. Yeah.
And it's really important when it comes to like problem solve, when we have, even as adults have, a challenge with, or a difficulty with somebody else and being able to go, okay, cool. So, and be reflective in it. What am I contributing to this?
Totally. And I think that's something else we can do as adults is we can be more transparent with our social interactions. So obviously like age appropriate and stuff, but like explicitly talk about it, because I think that's the issue for so many children and adults is that so much of social interactions is unwritten, unsaid things that just happen that you're meant to pick up on the vibe or the social cues and stuff. And if you're not, it doesn't mean that you're not a great friend and a really kind person. It just means that your brain is learning those interactions in a different way and you need someone to talk to you about it or tell you about it or show you about it. So things like, say if you're going to go out for coffee with a friend and they cancelled, you could do the dialogue that goes in her head like, so looking forward to going out for coffee with Amy and she's just cancelled. Man, I know it's nothing to do with me, but I still feel a bit bummed about it. I'm going to see if we can reschedule or I'm going to go for a walk. So you're addressing that actually those feelings of rejection that might come up in the friendship, but then understanding that it's not, that taking that perspective of what might be happening in their life. And just verbalising that. Yeah.
I'm intrigued by this and the whether or not, do you believe, I don't know if this is true or not, but do you believe there is a kind of breakdown in this that's contributing to the you're not my friend, you're not coming to my birthday party, or is that something different?
So I wrote a blog about this last week actually for a preschool. It's on our website, but like kids in the playground being like, you're not my best friend today. I had this with my daughter at a birthday party at the weekend, like her two bestest friends, and it was one of their birthday party and two of them were like, you're not playing with us right now, like to the other one. And as a parent you just go like emotion, you can't say that, don't say that, and you jump in and like at that point in time I think it was just the dynamic of the three and it was just too much for those little people at that time to coordinate that. So it's I think if kids are saying those things or there's someone's been like quote unquote mean to someone, there's always a why behind that and there's always a reason. So I think that's the first step as adults. We can go, why is this happening? And it's usually that the child needs support, that the child doing that or saying that might need support with regulation or something themselves internally, like it might just be feeling too much, they're too hot, they're hungry, whatever. Because being kind and being a good friend is a higher level cognitive process, you know, so we need all those baseline things sorted first. Or it may be that skill's not there yet, that they're not sure how to navigate that difference or that social conflict, and it's a skill that we can support with, and then we want to get in with our supportive strategies.
Agreed. And I think that thing about, saying those sorts of things is like when we're hurt, we seek to hurt in some ways too.
Totally.
And so it's kind of like just, supporting our kids with kind of like forgiveness for those sorts of things as well.
Yes, and not holding grudges. Some of those little people really hold grudges.
Don't they? But she's never coming to my birthday.
Exactly. And I think at the end of the day, kids want to be kind friends, and kids are kind friends.
They are,
and they're lovely. They want those lovely interactions and connections because that's what feels good as humans. We're biologically social creatures, aren't we? So when that's not happening, it's not because they don't want to be a good friend or it's because they're just a mean person. It's because something's missing.
Yeah, that's right. And maybe don't understand that perspective empathy in the sense that they assume that everyone is just like them.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And if you're assuming everyone's thinking and feeling the same as you, and then someone does something different, then that's perceived as personally by that person of like, well, they did that to me, or they're thinking differently because of me. So, it can lead to a whole lot of different thought trains.
It's interesting too, in terms of kind of like, when we are teachers, when we are parents, thinking about what's the culture that might be contributing that if it's coming up a lot inside of a classroom.
Totally. And culture is a huge part of it. One of the things I've been really, really blown away with, impressed by with my daughter studying school is the culture of her school. She's at a small school and you spend a lot of time there when your kid's transitioning, and I don't think I've heard one child say anything negative to someone else. And having worked in and out of schools for 13 years now. Like, that's very rare.
Yeah.
But there's so much social focus at that school, and there's teachers explicitly social coaching, and there's there's this breed of kindness and support and friendship, and I think we do outwardly need to be addressing it and talking about it when it's happening and having those explicit conversations. But I say that also in mind of, this is a high decile, quite well-resourced school. I mean, still, like, within the realms of, you know, making things stretch and stuff, but often teachers are so stretched, and there's just not enough adults on the ground to be able to provide that support.
But it must be supported, like
100%,
because we can't assume that children are going to know how to do this.
No, we can't, not at all. And I mean, that's why Talk Together existed and started to start with, really. Like, we were doing, myself and my colleague who started Talk Together, we were in schools in our public roles doing these social support groups for tamariki, and then we'd have to move on to somewhere else, and the teachers were like, well, hang on, like, you can't go, we need this, or hang on, what about these, you're here to work with this kid, but actually these 10 kids need this too. And it was just this overwhelming demand that's not necessarily always catered for. But I think also the thing is starting the stuff early. So if you're listening to this and you've got a 1, 2, 3-year-old, like, start talking about all this explicit social stuff now. Find a preschool, or like, if your kid's going to preschool, find a preschool where the teachers are actually explicitly social coaching the kids throughout the day, because it's those foundations in the preschool years that can really help in the primary school years where there is less support in those areas. So,
and I think that's where we see it most inside of ECE as opposed to later on. That's really... Yes, that's cool. But I do like the idea that we can start 1, 2, 3, but you can also pick this up 8, 9, 10, you know?
100%. Yeah. I think we're all working on our social, you know, skills and communication, aren't we, for life? And so many times I'm thinking, wow, like, I'm not qualified for this. Like, I just missed that cue, or like, who did that, you know? But that's the thing, we're all human, and we're all no one's good at this. I mean, some people are better than others, but no one's got it sorted all the time.
No, that's right. And we can't always presume how somebody's going to react when we say something either. Totally. What's
going on for them in their world, and not necessarily taking what happens to us as us being the catalyst for that. Like, there's all so much stuff behind things.
But you know, relationships are complex. So what we're doing is we're saying out loud what's going on for us in terms of our own interactions. And then we're also talking to them about different perspectives of others. Cool. What else are we doing?
I think something else that I've really enjoyed extending my knowledge in, and this is total credit to Jackie on our team, who's absolutely amazing and a really great friend of mine as well, around positive intent. And that's something I've come to as an adult. And I guess she's put the name to it for me, but it's assuming that the things that happen to us in those social situations, assume positive intent first. And only when you've got evidence, assume a not positive intent. So what do I mean by that? So if you text someone, hey, do you want to catch up tomorrow at the park, and they don't text you back, it's really easy for a human brain to go, oh, they don't like me, they think I'm really dumb, they think I'm really lame, or they're ghosting me. But positive intent comes in with the fact of, wonder what's going on for them. Maybe they're really busy. I wonder if their phone died. So you're thinking you're giving them the benefit of the doubt first. Because ultimately, if they have ghosted you and they do think you're lame, you actually haven't lost anything by assuming positive to start with. Other than when you do find out that they have actually ghosted you, you're probably not going to feel as bummed about it because you had that positive thought first.
It's also that thing about taking responsibility for our own thoughts and actions.
Totally. And keeping our own internal dialogue at the point and the place where we want it to be to feel good ourselves. And that's not to say that we're letting our kids be vulnerable and be taken for a ride in social situations. That can happen sometimes too, and it's sort of around showing young people what are those signs that maybe a friendship isn't healthy or things like that. But going and assuming the positive intent initially can be a game changer for then giving a more solid platform for building those positive relationships and keeping relationships really positive.
That's true.
Especially if it's a good friend and something happens, like, oh, they didn't call me back, or they've like said they were going to meet me at the park and now they're not. And if you go in with the positive, then that's friendship preserving, effectively. Yeah.
That's nice, actually. I like that. I like coming in with a positive intent, as your friend likes to say.
Yeah.
And then just in regard if things are going really pear-shaped for our kids, they're finding this all really hard. Children.
Yes, yeah. I think, you're looking for the why initially. What's happening? Is it, like, the two things we see at Talk Together all the time, and I see with my own kids too, is that regulation thing. Like, what does that kid need right now to feel more centered in their own body and their own world, to be able to have those social connections in a positive way?
Yeah.
And what might be missing. So what skill might be missing. So are they finding it hard to see something from someone else's perspective? Are they thinking that everyone's thinking and feeling the same as them? So different ideas are throwing them. Are they finding it hard to work out a solution in a kind way when you have different ideas and then go in and support at that point? And then I'd also reflect on what's happened, but after the fact. So when it's calm, when everyone's regulated again, be like, I really was noticing that when you said so-and-so can't play, I looked at his face and he looked really bummed about that. How do you reckon it's okay? You don't have to play with everyone all the time, but how could we do it differently next time? So you're validating those feelings, but giving a solution that might be more supportive of them and the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So emotional regulation strategies, skills.
100%.
And also going back to that perspective taking as well.
Yeah. And then bump up those supportive strategies we've been talking about, like the perspective taking, talking about your own social interactions, coaching in the moment when things are going well. So you're pointing out all the ways they are a good friend, and they are an awesome person to hang out with. So the focus is shifting from that negative to more positive. And I mean, sometimes it actually is also finding somewhere else to find those friendship connections. Like, we've got so many kids that Talk Together that come to our groups and they absolutely love it, and they've made such amazing friends, and they're hanging out the weekends and they're gaming together or whatever. And at school, they'd say, I don't have any friends. I hate school. And it's because they just haven't met their people there. And that's okay too, you know, like... Yeah, so I guess if it's not, like, if a group of friends, if you feel like your kid's got the skills or the desire to be a friend and it's not happening, where can you expose them to other friends?
Yeah, nice.
Because often those positive friendships somewhere else help those friendships where they're a bit tricky anyway, because you're building all those awesome skills. Yeah,
nice. I like that idea that we first of all kind of, you know, make sure that our child has everything they can to make good friends.
Yeah, totally.
And then analyse the situation and go, actually, are they working with a whole bunch of kids that, you know, that have different values?
Yeah, they're just not vibing.
Yeah.
You know, like, as adults, we go to a party and we're like, oh, that was lame. Like, no one was really keen to chat. Then you go to another one and you're like, oh, that was awesome. And like, oh, like, we've made this connection and we're going to go for a walk next week. And it just feels so different. And it's the same for our kids.
Yeah. Yay. Nice work. Thank you. So this is normally where we talk about top tips. I feel like we've been really clear all the way through about the things that we can do in order to support our kids to be and develop great friends. Do you want to... Let's reiterate those.
Yeah. So I think probably... Well, in summary, I guess, is it?
Yeah, thank you.
That we want to be putting in those social supports all the time for all kids.
Yeah.
So those things being like talking about other people's perspectives, assuming that in positive intent, talking explicitly about our own stuff and social interactions, coaching and guiding in the moment, and I guess encouraging and empowering parents and teachers to do that as well.
Yeah.
And if you have no idea how to do that, then that's, you know, like, reach out to someone that does. We've got stuff like that. Talk Together. There's other places that do that as well. And then so when stuff does get a bit tricky or friendships are harder, then you've already got that foundation in place that you can just amp up a little bit more. And then, in the moment when things turn pear-shaped with friendships, which they will, like they always will for every single kid, then you're looking at the why. So why has that happened? And potentially it's just that they're hungry, or it's like an easy fix situation. Or it may be a skill that's not quite there yet, or something they're looking at from a different point of view. So then we can hone in and support at that skill level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd also recommend in their books, around friendships, or even just kind of noticing friendships inside of books and then talking about that. Or often in books you see that one character's upset and you can use that as the perspective taking kind of space.
Definitely. Yeah, and what makes a good friend and what, for ourselves as well. That's probably another podcast, actually. I'll just stop talking about that.
We will do that.
Yeah, and then having that reflective, I think it's so easy in the moment as parents especially to be like, don't say that or don't do that, but actually just try and coach through the moment and then reflect on it with the child later when they're in a better headspace to take it on.
Yeah, quite.
When the emotions aren't so big.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And not assuming that every child is mean to your child, and not assuming that our child is always mean to others.
And I think assuming that kids are good kids, you know, like all kids are good kids.
Yeah.
And if they're showing behaviours that are deemed like not good, then there's a reason behind that.
That's right.
Everyone wants friends, everyone wants connection, everyone wants to be a great friend to others. So if it's not happening, there is a reason, and it's not them, it's the reason.
Yeah, that's right. And the learning that's needed.
Yeah, for sure.
Megan, what an absolute pleasure to have you with me. I found this really fascinating. I'm definitely going to put some of this in place in my own parenting, and and include it in places like Manahau and all the places that I work for. As well. Yes, and again, if anyone wants to be in touch with Megan, her website, www.talktogether.co.nz.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks for being with us today.
We hope you've learned that while parenting is challenging sometimes, that's totally normal. It's been fun having you with us. Keep being amazing.
Bye!